Family, it's your brother Farouk Hunter once again live, and I'm doing something that I haven't done in a very long time. I'm having a rant this morning. So it's morning time for me. It's really early morning time for you if you're in the United States, especially on the East Coast. It's about 1 a.m. If you're inside of the West Coast, it's probably about 11 o'clock at night. And I know you're probably going to catch this on the playback, not on the foreplay, and that's cool, no problem. But I was getting hit up by a sister who's, probably watched and followed some of the other reels that we've done on Freedom Nation from Egypt. And I need to prelude what I'm about to say. First of all, let me tell you that the topic of the day that I'm here to rant about is this whole Cleopatra bit. And I chose this particular picture of Cleopatra, this particular story, because this story, this picture, this particular image of Cleopatra is what's being shown in Italy. And it's a series that was created in Rome in order to promote Mark Antony and his relationship with what they would believe is white Cleopatra. Now, I didn't say ethnic Cleopatra. I didn't say Greek, possibly mixed with a local mother, which we don't know the origin of Cleopatra's mother. Anyone who says they do, they're wrong. We don't know. But, no, just a straight up white Cleopatra, because they don't want to promote that a Roman leader would have ever fallen in love with a woman with any level of color inside of her, right? But I picked this in particular because I want to talk about this issue with black people, and I'm talking about African Americans, and our now issue with Egyptians, because this is much bigger than just Cleopatra at this point. And I don't think Egyptians understand it. I'm going to prelude by saying I have a lot of Egyptian friends. And I love my Egyptian friends because they've been very good to me. I go to Egypt. They've been very kind to me. They've really looked out for me in the greatest way. I have the best opinions for them as people. But if someone is your brother, I shouldn't even say but, because but negates. I'm going to say and if someone is your brother, if someone is someone that you love, then you need to be able to call them out when they lose their damn mind. And right now, over this topic, Egyptians have lost their damn mind. Period. Ain't no way around this one. Okay? Look, and I'm talking straight up. A, Cleopatra. First of all, let's be clear. Cleopatra is nothing to be proud of. I know that some of our people are getting into this Egyptology and all the other things, and I respect what you do. However, let's understand one thing very clearly. Nubia, or the great capital of Nubia, existed way before we had the introduction of Greek leaders after supposedly Alexandra, and we won't call him Alexander the Great. We'll just say Alexander, because really Alexander was a spoiled kid that did not really go that far, was not as successful as people think he was. And he ran completely opposite of what the Greek methodology is. It's another story for another time, but the reality of it is that he didn't go that far. My kids are in the other room. Oh, I'm gonna do you guys a favor. I'm going to close the door. It's Saturday morning for us, so, it's cartoon time and the kids get their thing. Real life. So, first of all, Cleopatra was nothing to be proud of. Let's assume that she was black. Let's say Cleopatra was black. Y'all want to roll down that thing? Okay. If Cleopatra was black, then she was about as Uncle Tommyian as an Uncle Tom could possibly be. She was sleeping with the enemy, bar none, 10-9, round the corner. Even if you're an Egyptologist, even if you get into Egypt spirituality, even if you're into all of the Ra and this and that and blah, 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 she was not the best one of them all. This is a good depiction. She really did allow Mark Antony to control by the bed. She really was an adjunct queen under the Roman Empire. She was no one to be admired. As a matter of fact, I heard one person actually say this, and what they said was pretty deep. They said that by trying to make Cleopatra black, you insult all other black leaders in Africa. Because what you're trying to say is that there was no true black leaders that demand mention above Cleopatra, who was a questionable one. I can't disagree with that. I don't have to agree that she was black. I don't have to agree that she was white. I ain't got to agree with none of that crap. I do know for a surety she was half Greek. Whether she had curly hair, whether she looked half black, whatever, who gives a rat's ass? The reality is she was half Greek. And there are some true Nubians, some true people of Egypt that are black as tar, that deserve our recognition, our love, and our fight more than Cleopatra. Okay? So one thing we should acknowledge, Jada Pinkett, this idea of using Cleopatra as the base of this whole thing was stupid. It was just stupid. Like, you could have picked a lot of people. And this obsession with trying to find that there was only Cleopatra, because Cleopatra has been made popular by white Hollywood. Because she was the queen that had a white background. Like I said, we don't know where her mama's from, but we know her daddy was from Greece. So we take the person that they made popular, and then we're going to turn around and say that we should then take pride in what someone else made popular. No, let's talk about the folks they don't talk about. You want to spend millions of dollars on a documentary? Talk about the leaders of Africa that were women, that were black. Why in the hell didn't you do this about the queens of Ethiopia, who fought back the Italians and fought back the people who tried to enslave Ethiopia, who bonded with the king to take Russian weapons and fight back and ensure that Ethiopia was the only country never colonized? Where is that story? We got the woman queen king in Benin. They were slavers and they fell to the British military. We got Cleopatra you trying to claim, and basically this chick was just rolling with Mark Antony, and she was basically bedded by the enemy. But you got an African queen that existed in the last 100 years that fought back European oppression and won. And we don't have a single movie about her. Listen, number one, that is what is really important. You want to really focus on something, you want to really have an attitude about something, the first thing you need to be pissed off about is, why in the hell are we making a movie about Cleopatra? She is the wrong person to make a movie about. Once again, I'm going to stop for 5 seconds. I'm going to ask you to cross-promote and put the link out there. It's always hard for me to do this. I'm going to take 5 seconds to do it. Do not be tripped that I have Trump on a post. My point is, this crazy bastard is stealing our ideas and doing it because a black woman took our ideas of freedom and building freedom cities and put it into his hands. She said it openly on Fox News the other day that she implanted this idea with the Trump people in order to gain black votes. This whole freedom cities thing, you gotta look into it. It's a deep thing. Trust me, I ain't promoting them. I'm telling how psychotic it is and how realistic our own strategies are for ourselves, so much so that the white people are appropriating our strategies in order to win houses like the seat of the presidency. Deep. You got, y'all brothers and sisters, you got to wake up, look at it. Hold on, let's grab something real quick. I want to share. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm just going to refresh, and then I'm going to share. I figure I'd do this out here. Let's share. I know it's early in the morning. I know. I'm not jaded by it. I know it's early in the morning, but we're going to get it out here anyway. We're going to do it like this. Share to a story. And I think we can do it. Okay. It's out there enough. I know the participation is because of the time that I've chosen to do this, but, you know, rants are very funny. I find my rants come when they need to come. I don't like to, you ever seen those kids? I used to go to a black school, and then my father thought it was necessary that because I had the ability to get the scholarship to go to a white school for a year and a half. He chose that I went to this really upscale preppy white school for a year and a half. And he was deep. My dad was deep. First of all, he went in there and negotiated, told them I had to wear African-based clothing. I couldn't wear their clothes as the uniform. And then also he basically told me every day going to school, I'm sending you here not to be appropriated by this culture, but so you can understand what they do to train their people, so that we can understand what we need to do to train our people, so that we can fight off bad influences that are created out of this space. So don't get it twisted. But when I went to that school, I remember one thing. You go to a black school, somebody get beef with you, you got a problem. Y'all duke it out right there. You're gonna fight it out. I mean, that's how we used to do it. There wasn't no thing about knives and people cutting each other and all that stuff. But the white school I went to, you get mad, you get heated, but the folks didn't want to get kicked out of school. So what they would do is then say, I'll meet you at the playground. I'll meet you on the football field. And you'd be like, okay, that's like 6 hours from now. And I'm not exactly sure I'm going to be angry enough at you to fight you. So I don't really want to do that. So my rants are like that. I need to get them out. I got that black version of it. I don't have the white school version of it. I need to get a rant out when it's on my chest, not later on. So if you see this, it's great. If you don't see it, all right, then it wasn't meant to be seen. But otherwise, it is what it is. The get back on point, here's my thing. Number one, like I said, I got 3 points. That's afflicted 3. 3, there you go, 3 points. Out of 3 points, the first one is simple. This ain't the person to argue about. This ain't the person for us to go ham about. Okay? We got better people to deal with. There's a whole story. I made a post, I think 3 years ago. I'll pull it up for you, repost it, everything else inside my page. But I made a post about the people who fought to make sure Ethiopia was the only country that was never colonized. Let me give you some about that. Ethiopia is the birthplace of humans. Ethiopia is our living notebook, our living history book that humans were created black. Even in Islam, and I don't care if you knock Islam, but just hear me out. The word Adam actually means from black soil. That is literally what the word Adam means. From black soil. God has always given elevation to black people. The people of Ethiopia, just like when we saw Haile Selassie come to Jamaica, and Haile Selassie came to the United States. When Haile Selassie came to the United States and the Jamaican people saw him, and they saw this black king stand beside the other people, it gave pride. It gave a sense of being. It made people create a whole freaking religion around it. That's how powerful the message was. We do need powerful images of black leaders, but we also need that our black actors, our black stars, in the Hollywood term, don't continue to perpetuate the white heroes, meaning the people that the white Europeans tell us we should love. We don't need to perpetuate the stories that meet the white mantra. If you want to create true stories, find us those black heroes that won. If you go to the birthplace of humankind in Ethiopia, it has never been conquered by white influence. Even to this day, after Donald Trump invited the ambassador of Ethiopia to the White House, immediately we had a fight and a war with the Tigray in the north in Ethiopia. Immediately. To this day, the United States, to this day, white powers are still trying to influence and disrupt Ethiopia in its independence. Telling the stories of Ethiopia are our stories. It's the birthplace of all of the religions. It's the birthplace of the people. And it is unquestionably black. If you are a black Christian, why in the world do you get your Christianity from Rome when you can get it from Ethiopia? It makes no sense. The origins are in Ethiopia. In 300 AD, Constantine made Christianity the religion of Rome. However, in 300 AD, so did the emperor of Ethiopia. And it was a more clean, clear. He didn't do what Constantine did. The Ethiopian church separated themselves from the Catholic Church during the Nicene Council when they tried to associate different figures in Roman mythology into Christianity. Always. One, and I'm going to get off this point. One, she ain't the person to be talking about. The fact that we have black actors like Jada Pinkett even soliciting Netflix to put these images in front of us is wrong in the first place. That's number one. Now, number two, very quickly, let's get on our Egyptians. I'm going to say this like this. A lot of folks ain't going to feel it, but I'm going to say it. Our Egyptian brothers and sisters, let me say this to you. You're just damn wrong. Period. I don't care how you like it or what you do about it. You're wrong in the most vehement, adamant, and consistent way. I'm going to tell you, you're wrong. Let's not talk about Cleopatra. See, you get in an uproar. The world is twisted right now. African Americans, black Americans, we're looking at you like you crazy because you want to sue Netflix. It'd be right if Netflix just cut Egypt off. You want to sue Netflix. You want to put out public issues. You want to enter into our news programs. You want to literally sign massive agreements and protests, all because the very first time that a black person was cast in a major documentary about Egypt, you got a problem. See, we don't give a damn that it was Cleopatra. We care that this is one of the largest representations that black people did hold positions of leadership in Egypt. And now you have a massive problem. But you have no problem with this. You ain't got no problem with that. You okay with this. You didn't even speak a word. We didn't hear Egypt respond at all. Let's go back a little bit more. Ben-Hur, we didn't see you say nothing. No one has called for anyone to correct. Let's go back a little bit more. The biggest of all atrocities, the ones that Egyptians know the best. Today, Egyptian is a majority Muslim country. Majority Muslim country. And when I go to Egypt, I always have an Egyptian try to convince me that Egypt is the seat of Islam. Always. They show me the sword. They show me the piece of hair from the Prophet Islam. They show me the mosque from Hussein. They show all of this. And you try your best to prove to me that Egypt is the seat of Islam and it has Islamic history and it's where Islam met not just the Bedouin movement of people, but met the necessity to build an actual culture because of the Nile. Let's just say I don't argue with you. That would mean the single most significant individual to ever exist in Egypt was Moses or Musa. And when I go down here and I put actors that played Moses, I want to do the search in front of you. Where the black people at? Moses is described in the Hadith. The Prophet Muhammad said that he saw Moses when he ascended to heaven. And Moses was a big black man. Moses was described as a very dark black man. I ask you a simple question. If Moses was a big black man and the Pharaoh's wife brought that black man into her house as her child, while at the exact same time Pharaoh was killing all of the Hebrew babies, then there's two things you got to admit. All the Hebrews at that time were black. I don't care what you say. And secondarily, that Pharaoh himself had to have been black. Because there's no way as a white king he would have accepted a black child as one of his own to raise beside his son Ramses. So we're talking about black history in Egypt. But where did the Egyptians go? Where did the big fight go when all of a sudden this image of Moses was being portrayed to the world? To this day, the single most significant individual in the history of Egypt is Moses. But I don't see the Egyptian outrage. I don't see anyone going back and suing Disney for the Prince of Egypt. The Prince of Egypt. I don't see it. I don't see anybody making that fuss. I don't see anyone saying, hey, that's not Moses. When Val Kilmer played Moses in The Prince of Egypt, a $216 million grossing film, nobody said anything. As a matter of fact, not only did they not say nothing, let's check this out. Not only didn't they say anything, but the Egyptians actually had it converted into Arabic and played it in their own theaters. So when you wonder why in the world African Americans are totally pissed with you, it's because of the hypocrisy that you dare to display when it comes to color. Egypt, you have done nothing to honor your leaders of color. You have done nothing to portray your leaders of color in a positive light. You have done nothing to admit that the foundations of your entire social relevance in the world was started by people who were so much darker than me that I would damn near be considered white. And for that, we are having a hard time forgiving you. And it will be a long time before black Americans do. And you need to accept that. The first Egyptian that stands up for the totality of misappropriation of the color of the people of Egypt and its history and address decades of claiming that Egyptians were white when they weren't, then that person will be heard in their entirety when it comes to Cleopatra. Until then, we see nothing positive in your disposition. Nothing at all. We will not be happy with you. You won't find peace when even the most modern versions of Moses, a prophet, doesn't matter if you believe in Egyptology. Doesn't matter if you are a Moor. Doesn't matter if you're a Muslim. Doesn't matter if you're a Christian or Jew. The misappropriation of the most important figure to come from Egypt in history and to continue to call him white when he was literally a humongous black man. Humongous black man is ludicrous, and it is the true crime. And until the Egyptians take that stage, quite frankly, when it comes to your color and your history, we don't care. We don't want to hear it. We just don't want to hear it. You're falling on deaf ears. So we don't like hypocrisy. Black Americans are sick of hypocrisy. We're sick of people who would celebrate these images that misappropriate, destroy the idea of black governance, of black power. I'm going to use that word, black power not modern term, but the extension all the way back to its origin, back to today. The recognition of who we are as a people based on our color and our skin and what the relevance of that is to the world of creation. No, we don't want to hear you. We just don't want to hear you. So for all my Egyptian brothers and sisters, we can always be friends. But when we hit this topic, if you are not starting your conversation with how bad it is to deal with the images of Moses, of Musa, I literally do not want to hear anything else you have to say about your history when it comes to anything else in relevance to race. And do not tell me that the Cleopatra issue is a history issue, because if it was a history issue, this would be the first image you'd try to resolve. Nothing more than this horrible image of our prophet. And when I say our, if you're a Jewish person, Hebrew, if you are a Christian, if you are a Muslim, Moses is our prophet for all of us. And yes, he was in Egypt. And yes, he was a big black man. And then if you ain't correcting that, in the hadith, if I wanted to show you, there's a Sahih hadith, look it up yourself. The prophet said during the Miraj, I saw Musa, and he was a big black man. This is his words. So you won't want to stand up for your religion. You don't want to stand up for your text. You don't want to stand up for your history when it's correcting a white image and telling me it was really supposed to be black. But you got something to say when when someone you think should have been white is represented as black. We don't want to hear what you got to say. I'm going to do it like the ghetto girls. We don't want to hear what you got to say, boo-boo. We don't. All right. That's 2. We're hitting the 30-minute mark, so I'm about to end this off because I think that's way too long for a rant. I think rants have to be 30 minutes. My rants used to be an hour. Rants have to be 30 minutes, right? The last part, the third part, we covered 2 things. 1, Cleopatra's the wrong person to talk about in the first place. 2, if we're not talking about true misappropriation and true of the figures that matter and trying to make them white, we don't want to hear what you got to say. The last one is this. Black people, when it comes to this entire issue around color and Hollywood and all this stuff, what's also most important is do your own research. Figure out who people are. Understand the true culture and nature of people. Also understand the lay of the world. Also understand when people are acting stupid and they don't know it. Most Egyptians literally just deal with Egypt as if it is the only place on the planet. I have to be honest in saying that out of the last 14 years that I've been going back and forth to Egypt, and my first exposure to Egypt, I was in Sudan, right? The first exposure I had to Egypt was in Sudan. And I remember the interaction very well. I was with the Sudanese. Sudanese have a humongous color problem, really. In the south, they have what they call the Janoubs. And those are traditional, dark-skinned African people that come from several different tribes, but most of them are all black. And in the north, you've got these people who are not really white. They're like, honey, what we just call light-skinned folks. And all of them ain't light-skinned in the north. And they consider themselves to be Arab. They say that Arab, right? And let me be clear with you. There was one group of people in Islam who considered Arabs to be the head of Islam, to be Arab. That was the Umayyad Caliphate. It was started by the enemy of the Prophet Muhammad. Started by his grandson, Abu Sufyan's grandson. That idea that Arab and Muslim are simultaneously connected is something that was originated by the enemies of Islam, by the enemies of the Prophet. Islam has always been a universal religion. Whenever you have a cure to something, you need to put it at the heart of the sickness. So the Prophet was given to the Arabs because they were so sick. They had these problems that needed to be resolved. It wasn't because they were special or chosen. Because when the Prophet Muhammad said, our father, he was talking about Abraham. And it's clear that Abraham was a black man. It was clear that Moses was a black man. So his fathers, what he considered fathers of the religion, were all black. He only saw himself as a person who was born of Arab descent, which, by the way, a lot of black people, Yemenis, Saudi, several of their tribes are black. You need to know that too. But he saw the sickness and the illness that came around this separation, this segmentation. Same things that we saw with the creation of white supremacy, which we have to understand white supremacy and its origins was on the backside of dealing with Arabs that were in Spain. So the illness of the Arabs to try to make being Arab more significant is the same illness that was given to some of the Jews who also tried to make white Jews the only Jews that exist. It's an illness. It's been beset on a certain set of people, and they promote this illness of separation. So it was sent to cure that illness. After that, and before that, Umayyad Caliphate, which was only 100 years, Islam, they did a lot of the bad things you see that Arabs did under the name of Islam. It was like total. They even killed the grandchildren of the Prophet. You have to know that. You have to know that. These obsessive people that thought Arabs, being Muslim, was more important than anything else, they killed the lineage of the Prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're murderers, right? Even though they call themselves Muslim, and history doesn't separate them properly. Islam, and true Islam, the last of the lineage of the Prophet, traveled to Morocco. Took on a black wife, and made sure that the lineage of the Prophet was attached to black people from that point forward. So you have to understand real understanding. I'm talking right now to my brothers who are, of trying to follow more African-based faiths and understandings that don't really understand the history of Islam either. The truth of the matter is this sickness, this illness, this disgusting construct of trying to make yourself better than somebody else, of trying to elevate yourself over black people, has because black people were in such a strong position. See, a strong man in the field don't have to tell himself he's bigger than everybody else. He already know it. He just walk out there, he bigger. Somebody say something, no reason to even pay attention to a hyena when you're in lion. It's the hyena that tries to tell people he's better than the lion. That tries to gang up on the lion when he's walking alone. Our blackness has always been in a leadership position. And the rest of the world has tried to fight against that. Our blackness has always been inclusive of other people. It's how people got close enough to try to destroy and gut us. Because we were never racist people. We never used our color in order to demand who we were. We used our merit. Maybe even sometimes our lineage, but we used our merit. That system is an evil system. It is an evil system. Evil system. And anyone who promotes and propagates that system innately has taken on an evil way. I won't call you evil, but I will say that you have taken on an evil way. So the third point here is to recognize our brothers and sisters as brothers and sisters, but brothers and sisters that are horribly sick. We know that there was a point in time in our history as African Americans, that whole, if you black, stay black, if you light, if you brown, stick around, if you light, you all right. That was created within our own community. We allowed that illness to permeate our hearts and our chests. We went through that experience. We came back with black power. We came back with the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. I was blessed to have a father that literally every time he had a dark child, he would start celebrating. I got my little sister Samaya, sweet little dark-skinned girl. We knew that she was my dad's favorite because she was the darkest, which I love. I love all the shades and the colors of it. I love who we are, man. I love it. I love who we are. And we can't let this illness permeate. But we also need to understand that we are the doctors. This is the third point. We're the doctors. This is the third point. We are the doctors. We have the medicine. So don't get so angry with the world that we can't treat them in our clinics. Understand that your responsibility is not holistically to be angry. Yes, we pissed. Egyptians, I'm going to tell y'all done bit off a bullet that's going to be really hard for us to forgive. Really hard. You're going to see a lot more black people being a lot more sharp with Egyptians because of the stupid stance on this movie. Because it's reached the international stage. But, my brothers and my sisters, remember, we are the cure. We are the cure to all of this nonsensical, idiotic, retarded, racial BS. While we fight to understand our history appropriately, to give our children proper images of our leadership abilities, don't forget that the people have been infected with an illness and it needs curing. Let's not be so quick to lump everybody into the people that are hellish and have started this horrible mindset. And let's remember that when we engage our people, we got a couple commenting now. Since Sister Iman has already put herself out there, she put herself in the comments. I've been debating with her about this issue and showing her the fallacy. I don't think Sister Iman's a bad person at all. I think she's a good person. But I think that she has an illness she doesn't even know she has. And that's the saddest part, like walking pneumonia. You don't know until you drop dead. I learned a long time ago through my travels that we were the cure, that we don't need to seek out solutions in the world when we have it. We are literally the most balanced individuals on the planet Earth. We know what it's like to come from the hellish background, to be treated through all of the turmoil and hardships of colonialism, slavery, everything, all the versions of it, Jim Crow, aggressive policing. I have never seen any form of oppression in the world, Holocaust, anything that we have not already experienced. The Red Summers of 1917, the lynchings all the way through 1917 or 1901, all the way up to 1978, and going forward with active and aggressive policing that reaching to this day. Literally, I've seen that in Kosovo, I've seen that in Germany, I've seen it everywhere. But they only dealt with like one form of it. We've dealt with every single dose of this evil. And we have survived, and we have come out beautiful, and we now owe the world to share the cure. And the cure is us, our nature, our spirit, our love. And we ain't got to love nothing. Even what we hate, even our hate, what we hate is part of the cure. So when we see you, brother Egyptians, sister Egyptians, and you come down these stupid paths, understand that just like when you love your kid and he do something stupid and you smack him on the butt, that don't mean you hate him. It means you love him. And we will smack you on the butt for this stupidness that you're coming up with. Absolutely. And we will continue to as long as you spread it. But that means we hate you. It means that we're sharing the cure. And this is your brother Farouk Hunter. That's my rant for the day. Remember those three things, please, when it comes to this issue. Repeat them, say them, and perdón. Number one, Cleopatra ain't the one to be talked about. Let's talk about real black heroes. Second, y'all Egyptians have lost your damn mind. And we do have a problem with it. Third, brothers and sisters, we're the cure. And let's spread it around evenly and give it to people. Spank them if they do wrong. And then give them a hug once they learn their lesson. This is your brother Farouk Hunter. Assalamu alaikum. Uhuru. Peace. Shalom. I'm out. See you next time.